All right, here we go. A great Sunday here. I got a couple things that I was thinking about when I mentioned is really I love how we do a potluck today. We do it every month. I like the way folks gather. It really is a church family. And it's not just a word for church family, we really are church family. I know all you guys know me, you know each other, and it's so nice that we can find a place that we can really find peace with each other. And that's a nice thing to be able to come together once a week and like be with your family, find peace, worship the Lord, and lift Him up there. So it is good. There was a fella, Cheryl's not here today, a guy named Donnie, who used to go to our church quite a bit when we started, has died. And he died Saturday morning, 6:30. I got to go there Friday night and spend a few hours with him and watch him as they unplugged him and things. And I tell you, all he could keep saying is he wants to see Jesus. He wants to see Jesus. He couldn't die quick enough, actually, when it was time, because he was suffering and troubling, and they couldn't give him enough meds to kill him. They wanted that, but they didn't want to have that. But it did take him 12 hours on the journey. But I was looking at, just staring at him for a long time, sitting there. It's kind of awkward moments. But I thought, here's a guy's life who before was thriving, was normal, was concerned with what he would eat, what he would do, and now he's going to be with the Lord. And truly, every single one of us will be on the same exact path one day. And it's a beautiful thing if you can be around your brothers and sisters in Christ and be part of a family like that. And all of you part of the family, we're family right here. So it's a beautiful thing that we're together. But poor Cheryl's mom is having troubles too, so that's why she's not here today. She's with taking care of her mother. So it's kind of a hard way. She did a lot for Donnie, and now her mom's in the hospital as well. So we keep her in our prayers. But with this today, we'll get started. And I have this is such a good passage of scripture right here. Okay, hold on, my techie stuff here. We're getting it here. All right, here we go. And I got a weird certificate up there, okay? I don't like everything it says on the little lines. Hopefully you can't read it all. But I like the big picture, okay? I like the picture, the School of Hard Knocks, the College of Life. All right? This is from a guy's Facebook photo that I found. I don't even know the guy. I did a search for School of Hard Knocks, and I thought this picture I like the best. So it took me to his Facebook page. So I took his cover story page, right? He's got his name on there, okay? I don't even know who he is. He's probably not even from Ohio. But here it's got a picture of a guy with a graduation cap, and it's a skull in the School of Hard Knocks, the College of Life. It really is like that. I know a lot of military guys, for their education, they didn't go to college or anything. They have like Pineland University. It's like Special Forces thing for, the last phase. Or they have some kind of Army thing on there or something, and that's where they have their education. And it really is like this for all of us. The School of Hard Knocks, in this passage we're going to go into today, really paints the development of Jacob, his development. And Jacob becomes Israel, and Israel becomes the nation that we have today. Okay? I mean, this is really kind of a big picture. Like, how did Israel come to be? It came to be through one man, and that one man was Jacob, whose name is going to be changed to Israel. And remember, in the last passage last week, I pointed out that he had very soft hands. The Bible said, well, his brother had like very hairy, tough outdoorsman's hands right there. Well, things are going to change, and the boy that never had a job, the boy that was taken care of by his folks, is about to go into some pretty hard labor for the next 20 years. And he's going to have tough hands. He's going to be a strong man. He has strength already, because we see in the story I read you, we're going to see that there was a giant stone they had to wait for like a lot of people before they rolled it away. He rolls it away on his own. So the man had strength even though he had soft hands. But soon he won't have soft hands anymore. And we also are going to see how much sin plays out. He deceived his father to steal the birthright. He shouldn't have done that. The next 20 years, he's going to be paying for the consequence of his sin. Because we're going to see right in this passage how the deceiver will be deceived. And I tell you, the way things roll out, they always roll out way worse than what you thought they were going to be. If you thought, I could get away with this, then the punishment or the result's going to be a whole lot worse than what you thought it was going to be. And we're going to see this play out in life. And yet at the same time, we see Jacob is an elect child chosen of God before he was even born. God said he was going to love the younger, not the older. He chose him before anything happened. Jacob actually had a lot of bad behavior. It didn't matter. God's the one who chose him. And we're going to see that even in the consequence of the pain and the trouble of his life, God's going to work many things together for his good. Okay? Many things right there. Good things right there. He's going to have a lot of children. He's going to have 12 kids, plus a daughter. So 13 kids right there. 12 boys and a daughter right there. He's going to end up having 4 wives, which wasn't the plan, but this is what it's going to be. And we're going to see all kinds of things that do work out in the development of Jacob. And if you remember, He also said in the last passage, he said, if God will do this for me, then I will serve him, which showed a very immature believer stance. None of us should ever be like, if God will do this, then I will love him. If God will do this, then I'll serve him. If God will do this, it should never be like that. It should be like, yes, God. Yes, God. It should never, it's not conditional. Thank God that our salvation is not conditional. Thank God it's not conditional on how we serve him, because he will bring us to the point through the school of hard knocks to realize it's not a conditional situation in how we serve God right there. And we're going to see that he grows, and he's not like that anymore at the end of all this. But here, there's a Bible verse I grabbed from the top, 28:15. That was from the last passage, and it's a beautiful promise. It's probably the promise of the strength that Jacob heard from Yahweh, that he thought, this is what will give me my strength through all my time. It's this verse right here. He said, behold, I am with you, and will keep you wherever you go. And I will bring you back to this land, for I will not forsake you until I have done what I have promised you. Isn't that a beautiful thing? That's like assurance of salvation. It's strength. It's beauty. It's something that when God tells you something like this, the Bible tells you something like this, that you hold on to, and that'll get you through the hardest of hard times. And then I wrote another part at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see in my little print. Is a work in progress. And I tried to get a picture, but the internet wouldn't let me get a picture. Because like one day this week, I tried to update my watch and my phone and stuff, and I was running late for work, and I kept seeing the little line just moving so slow. And I was like watching it, wishing it would move faster in an update, all right? And isn't that the way it is with our lives sometimes? We're a work in progress. And sometimes we want it to go a little quicker, but it's going to go whatever pace it's going to go at. And sometimes it may seem awful slow for us right there. But it's going, okay? It didn't shut down. It went. And this is the story of David as well, of Jacob, because he was a work in progress. So Jacob's love for Rachel. The way I did this on my iPad instead of my regular computer brought down the heading from the Bible as well, even more than the verse on someone. So that's why we see Jacob's love for Rachel. You may not see that in your verse 1. Then Jacob took up his journey and came to the land of the sons of the east. Remember, he's running away because his mom said, you better run for your life because your brother's going to kill you. Run away. And he'd also got another blessing from his dad, from Isaac, before he went away. And it was probably really making Esau mad. So Esau's back home and he's gone away, and he takes up his journey. And if you look, some of your Bibles may say a different thing, but really it's like he took up flight, is what some of your versions may say. And what the took up flight means, like he's walking on like type of way you'd walk when everything's going great in life, okay? Everything's wonderful. You just got the blessing, you're going to go get yourself a wife, you're all excited, you're a young guy, you're looking forward to the journey and the experience. It's almost like you could see that Wizard of Oz, okay, on the yellow brick road. That's what I wrote up here. And I'm off to see my people, the wonderful people of Ur. Okay, not the wonderful people of Oz, but the wonderful people of Ur, okay, because that's where they're from, is Ur. So he's going back to Ur, and he's off to see his people, and he's got this little skip in his step right here. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and behold, 3 flocks of sheep were lying there beside it. For from that well they gave water to the flocks to drink. Now the stone on the mouth of the well was large. So he goes up to this well, there's this giant stone, and he's seeing flocks of sheep laying there around it. All right, what does that show? That shows some lazy fellows is what it shows. You think, how can you get that? Well, we're going to get that as we continue to read the story. It's lazy fellows. They're all just chilling. I was in Africa one time in Algeria, and I learned what siesta time was. And I was lucky because our company went out to all North Africa. We were all in a different country. Some were in Black Africa. I was in Muslim Africa, which is the hard North Africa. In Black Africa, those guys worked and never stopped working. Those are some of the hardest working people you'll ever meet in Black Africa. But North Africa with the Muslims, they had something called siesta time. And I have to admit, I enjoyed my siesta time because it gets real hot there. And you work a little bit in the morning, and then about 11 or 12 or 1, you say, okay, siesta time. And you all go back to the tent and lay down, take a nap all day long. Read a book. Lay there in the heat and sweat with the flies and such or something, right? Had a little lunch, but it wasn't that great of a lunch. And then you wait till about 4 or 5 in the afternoon when it's cool, and then you go back out and you work for another couple hours. and it's siesta time. I could kind of see siesta time is going on right there. And I tell you, my buddies that worked in Black Africa at the same time, which was also North Africa, but some countries are all black down there, not all Muslim, or Arab Muslim, and they were like exhausted. They were like, these guys want us to work and never stop working. They wanted to soak up everything the U.S. forces could show them and do with them. But our guys, they were pretty chill, and we picked it up pretty easy. It wasn't hard to adapt to the lazy lifestyle, let me tell you. It may not be hard for any of us to adapt to lazy lifestyle. We got to be careful. But this is what it is they're all laying there. And you think about this, all right? Think about this. When he saw that well, he probably thought of his parents' love story. Think about some backwoods folks. Maybe some of you aren't used to backwoods folks. I feel akin to backwoods folks. I feel like they're my people. I do. I don't know how this is, but we do. My wife talks about I do. I feel like backwoods folks are my people, and I like them. But imagine if all you had was a few stories from your family. You didn't have a ton of books and libraries and TV and all this stuff, and what you had was the love story of your parents. And you thought about that when you thought about love and how you wanted to find a wife. You think about how your parents found one another. I mean, try to put yourself in this mindset. I really think it's a beautiful mindset. It's something special. It's something sacred. It's not something so cluttered with the big city and all the things. And here, when he saw that well, likely it caught his attention like, wow, this is where my mom and dad met, at a well. And all of a sudden, he goes to a well, and what do you know? His little fascination is about to come to pass where he's about to meet his wife. And the flocks would be gathered there, and they would roll a stone from the mouth of the well and give water to the sheep to drink, and return the stone back to its place on the mouth of the well. So it's plural flocks. Everybody would come together, and they would do that. Now, why might they do this? Perhaps to prevent pollution, okay? And prevent thievery. Maybe somebody was stealing the water. I don't know who was stealing the water. Maybe there was vandals out there that polluted. Maybe there were people that wouldn't be clean when they drew from the water and mess up everybody else's water. I don't know why. But this is why what they were doing is that was their custom and that was their way. And Jacob said to them, my brothers, where are you from? And they said, we are from Haran. Now, Haran's where Abraham, stopped in Haran, right? And this is the same place back here. This is where Isaac went back to find a wife. They found Rebekah. But think about this. In a culture like the Middle East, it's a very hospitable culture. Usually you show up somewhere, somebody greets you. They say hi to you. Hopefully, like we do that when new people come in our church. I hope if you see new faces when they come in the church, you're like, hey, how's it going? My name's such and such. Hopefully they're not like, they don't have to be the ones striking up a conversation. We don't want to have it like that. It's nice to be hospitable. Hospitable is a good way, and this was hospitable people, but yet, wherever this land had come to in the time or something, nobody was talking to Jacob. So Jacob strikes up a conversation, just starts talking. I can do that. I know some of you guys can do that too. I know Louis can do that. We can go anywhere we want, man. We'll strike up a conversation with somebody. I think, who is this strange man? Well, we don't care. We want to get a conversation, get communication going. So he starts doing this. Then he said to them, do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. I wonder, how did they say we know him? Like, we know him like he's a great guy. We know him like, oh man, not that guy. I don't know how they said it. Maybe they just said it plain. We don't know from the text. We just know that he's asking about Laban, and sure enough, they know him. So he's come to the right place. And he said to them, is it well with him? And they said, it is well. And here is Rachel, his daughter, coming with the sheep. Talk about one of these God incidents type of things, right? You're trying to go there to meet the guy. Or they told you to go back and find Laban and get a wife for yourself. And all of a sudden, his daughter just happens to be coming to the well. Just like happened with his mom and his dad. Well, with the servant that grabbed his mom from the well, brought her back right there. And he said, behold, it is still high day. It is not time for the livestock to be gathered. Give water to the sheep to drink, and go pasture them. So this is kind of a jab at the lazy men. Just imagine if you walked up in the city and these guys had their little regular siesta, lazy time, little thing that they always do. They're all on break, maybe drinking their coffee, eating their donuts, whatever you think of a guy on break doing, eating his lunch. reading a book these days, looking at his iPhone. That's what probably happened these days. They're all looking at their iPhones, all looking at their stuff, and he's like, hey, get up and work, man. Roll the thing away and water your sheep. Go pasture your sheep. They probably wasn't too kind to what he was saying to them. They probably didn't like it like that. But anyways, maybe they showed up early like this before the other guys that said were coming to show up. So at least it'd be the first ones in. Maybe they thought, early sheep watering, early get to sleep later that night. These were the guys that were thinking, I want to get to bed early. I don't want to be working forever and then wake up early again. But we're going to see what happens. He's going to cut in front of line in front of these guys. He's going to cut right in front of them. He's going to meet his lady, and he's going to push them aside, and he's going to feed his lady's sheep that just came up to water sheep, even though maybe they've been waiting there for a while. But they said, we cannot until all the flocks are gathered. And they rolled the stone from the mouth of the well. Then we give water to the sheep to drink. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. So here we see a shepherdess, a lady shepherdess coming with her dad's sheep. Now it happened when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother. Jacob came near and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and gave water to the flock of Laban, his mother's brother, to drink. Talk about some tongue twisters, huh? There's a lot of mother's brother stuff going on here. Mother's brother's daughter, mother's brother, daughter, sheep, mother, brother. Let me tell you, this is a lot of tongue twisting. If you think of some tongue twister, this might be a verse you try to get somebody to say real quick. But think of this: is the stone was large, okay? It was a large stone, and Jacob did this all by himself. Move this stone away. So he was a strong man. Despite all this stuff going on, we see a very strong man pushing away. So even he'd been raised with a soft life, and he had soft hands. He had the strength behind it, and soon that strength would pay off right there. We're going to see how hard of a worker he's going to be. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted his voice and wept. This is really fast mover, huh? I mean, think of it. He meets the girl and then kisses, plants one right on her. I mean, I don't know. I tried to wrap my mind around this. I don't know how this would work. There wasn't any previous conversation to this. There was nothing. I mean, she showed up to water the sheep, and boom, he pushes the stone away like, Mr. Bravado here. He shows off his strength and his manliness there and his courteousness to this woman. I mean, this is a real love story right here. And then he kisses the girl. I mean, what if she didn't want him to kiss him? What if, I don't know, it was a strange society. We were talking society, they couldn't hardly be naked at all. They couldn't do anything. I mean, talk about a strict society, and he just plants one right on her. And think about the term kissing cousins, because they were. These are cousins right here kissing, right? Because this is his uncle's daughter. He just planted one on right here. So we got some kissing cousins going down. And this is an interesting fact. It's the only place in the Bible a man kissed a woman who's not his wife or mother. All right? Only place. There's a couple other places where people are like kissing their family members or things goodbye or something. But something like this is the only time it's captured. So it doesn't mean you should run around and just grab a woman and just start kissing on her. You'd be a little bit too backwards right there. If that's your custom, that's a little bit too backwards right there. Don't do something like that. It's okay to appreciate some backwoods stuff, but don't go so weird that people are like, whoa, you might get yourself in trouble with something like that, okay? You might go to jail these days, who knows? All right, but here's something I found too, is the word Rachel means ewe lamb, all right, like little lamb. That's what the word Rachel means. I thought about next time, we have Rachel in our church, she's going to go away, and we're going to do something for him on Saturday, June 20th, mark your calendar, and we'll talk about it later. But the thing is ewe lamb is what Rachel means. But Leah means a cow is what it means right there. So that's what it meant. It meant cow. And that's what it meant. But yeah, we get to see beautiful things about Leah. Beautiful things. And Jacob saw this as the beginning of the fulfillment of God's plan. He saw this all coming together right here in the fulfillment of God's plan when this happened. And that's why he's weeping. He's weeping because he's got joy. He's got so much joy. He's like, I got this step in my foot, like the road to, the yellow brick road. I'm on my way to Ur, and all of a sudden he happens to meet the girl that he believes he's going to marry. And likely, I read a whole bunch of stuff. One guy wrote, love at first sight. If you want to find a passage in the Bible that really goes love at first sight, this would be your love at first sight passage. The moment he sees her, he loves her. He kisses her. And I tell you, some people may think that love at first sight is only fickle, it's only temporary. We're going to see that she's the only one he talks about all the way down to the end of the book of Genesis, and how his wife died, and how much it hurt him, and how much he dearly loved her. So this is a love that goes on forever and ever. This isn't like an infatuation, couple of days, couple of weeks love. This isn't some kind of bad thing. This is really genuine love we're looking at. So it's really a beautiful passage showing love as well. And Jacob told Rachel that he was a relative of her father, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. So she was excited, And it's like that. I think it's sweet to be like that. I wish it'd be more like this. But isn't this good? Maybe some of you hopefully have been like this too, where your kid's excited and runs home and tells mom and dad about something right there. This is a good thing. This is what we want to see. This is like that freshness, this innocence, this beauty, the way life ought to be right here. Okay, she runs home and she tells her mom and her dad about this. Now imagine today it would have been kind of weird, The boy that just kissed me now tells me, I'm your cousin. All right, now that'd be kind of weird today. But back then it wasn't so weird, all right? It was a little bit more in the culture right there. So that wouldn't have been so strange. And so it happened that when Laban heard the report of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him. And he embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Then he recounted to Laban all these things. Now probably he thought Laban is the gold pot. Here comes the gold pot, right? Because remember last time when he met Eliezer and he gave his sister over to be married to this guy's dad right there. He got all kinds of wealth. This guy was traveling with all this money and camels and you name it. He's been going a long time now, okay? Because they took a long time to have kids, right? And the next thing you know, he probably thinks, here's my gold pot. Here's my gold pot right here. And it's going to quickly change within the next verse. He's going to realize he's not the gold pot, all right? So look at this. He's going to remember, we don't know this for certain, but remember the servant that was sent of Abraham to find a wife for Isaac, likely we think it might have been Eliezer. Eliezer, the guy that he thought originally he would have to leave all his wealth to because he had no kids. Because, this was a really good servant that served him well. He would have been really old because it was like 50 years later by the time this went on. But these folks lived to be like 150 years old. So maybe he was thinking of Eliezer, okay, when he took his sister away. And Laban said to him, surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him 1 month. All right? And perhaps he said this grudgingly, because look back on this verse here. He recounted to Laban all these things. Now, when he would have told Laban, well, I stole the blessing from my brother, I stole his birthright, or I sold it to him for a pot of lentil soup when he was hungry, and then he wanted to kill me, and then my mom said, you better run because you come back here, your brother's going to kill you. All the pictures of the money signs just vanished because he thought, this boy can't go home. This boy's got nothing. He's got what he's got on his feet and his shoes and what he showed up to me, and that's what he's thinking right now. Because he was a businessman, a shrewd businessman was Laban. I hope there's not Bible books telling us to be like Laban. That's terrible. But you want to talk about a shrewd businessman? It was Laban. We're going to see how he deals with him and how he takes advantage of this poor guy. So likely, when Laban says to him, surely you're my bone and my flesh, it's like grudgingly. It's like, well, I got to take care of you, your family. That's how it's looking at. But this 1 month is going to turn into 20 years of time. And that's going to be something not so nice for Jacob. It's going to be really nice for Laban because he can get really wealthy off of him right here. So now you think back on the stairway to heaven, where he had the dream the chapter before, and the angels are moving up and down, up and down. Yahweh himself is at the top of the ladder. I told you before, we look at verses in what Jesus says in the New Testament. Yahweh himself is at the bottom of the ladder. Jesus is Yahweh as well. And Jesus is right here with us. And he is our connection from us to the Father to Yahweh. It's Jesus. And his angels are working in between with things. And you think about this, God is working everything out in perfection to happen exactly as God would have it to happen. We all think, well, I have this, I have that, I can choose this, I can choose that. Some people think somehow God is standing there in time and reacting to what's going on rather than the one controlling all of time. And truly, I think that's a small view of God. If you think your view of God is that He's waiting on you, that He's expecting us as mankind to do this or to do that, you have a small view of God. Yesterday, we had Bible study, and the man teaching, even though he's a great guy, he expressed a very small view of God at one point. Because he tried to say, well, Paul says we're elect and chosen by God and saved, but I like to think this. I thought, you're choosing the small view of God. But anyway, you have a small view of God, a big view of God. He's still God right there. In the end, the man's still good man. He'll come around eventually, I think. But either way, the picture is what happens here is God in control. And God knows what's going on. And despite all of our sinful things and our bad choices and bad ways, isn't it good to know that God is in control? That His plan will be fulfilled no matter what. And this is what's going on behind the scenes. You think of these angels moving up and down, all this stuff going on. God knows exactly what's going on. God, and here's a picture for the small view of God. If you think, well, where does this all go? Picture the small view of God. It's a God that really is not in control, and He's dependent upon what men do and what people do as to what people will be in His kingdom, as to what people will play out His story. It's a small view right there. It puts God as in a position of like a human being, like we are, watching and waiting and hoping and trying to encourage. But that's not the way God is. God has it all. God controls it all. And I find so much more comfort and assurance in that God's in control and He's got it, and He's making things work the way He makes it work. And unfortunately, sometimes it's toward our pain, because we're going to see a lot of pain right here. This is the school of hard knocks that He's in. So think about this. The gate of heaven standing open over his life, over Jacob's life, and it was true, it would remain true, but not as he expected. The third patriarch needed some substance. He needed some trimming. He needed some compassionate spirit. He needed to experience some pain. He needed to learn humility. He needed some added dimensions to his character. He needed to grow in the faith. He needed to stop trusting in himself. So all those kind of things are very painful to us when they happen. But God makes sure they happen. God makes sure that He takes care of us. He controls us, and He molds it. It's not like something so nice and fancy. It's something rather painful. But even in Hebrews it says, those whom He loves, He disciplines. If He doesn't discipline you, then you got to wonder, does God really love me? If He's just leaving me floating on the side right there. But God's going to love us. He's going to change us. Every single one of us feels this in life as you walk through the Christian walk. Then Laban said to Jacob, because you're my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me what your wages shall be. Oh, let me tell you. Sounds like he's a nice guy. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Now this is very similar to King David. King David from Saul was offered 2 daughters as well, Merab and Michal. But in the end, David only married Michal because Leviticus 18:18, which would come after Jacob's time, would come by the hand of Moses, was the law, said you weren't allowed to marry your sisters right there. You can't marry 2 sisters. No sister wives, okay? We have this show, Sister Wives, is on TV. Leviticus 18:18 should be like boom across TV. Warning, warning, you're about to cross over passage. Leviticus 18:18 warns you, don't do this. That's what it ought to be. If I was control the TV station, and they'd pay a lot of money, and they had to have some kind of freedom and show their crazy show, I'd have Leviticus 18:18, warning, warning, no sister wives are allowed, okay? But there wasn't that rule back in Jacob's day yet. And the older-younger sibling conflict introduced an ominous conjuring up the misery between Jacob and Esau. Think of this, Jacob and Esau, older and younger. Think of Rachel, older and younger. The same type, I mean, these are almost like parallel things. It's like God fixing the story to adjust the heart of Jacob to be humble, to understand, and to kind of pay him back to see consequence for what he had done. Jacob's past was catching up with him, and it would do so with a vengeance. Further content lies in the contrast between the older and the younger sister. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance. Now, the only other person that's talked about in the whole Bible that has a beautiful form and a beautiful appearance is Joseph. That's it. That's it. We only have two people in the Bible talk. So just imagine what Rachel looked like. I mean, this lady, knockout, okay? And this fella, I mean, I'm not talking like, I don't know what a fella looks like, good or bad, but to the ladies, knockout is what this lady's son was going to be. His looks didn't come from his dad. His looks come from his mom, is what we're going to see, all right? And we can also see this word, Leah's eyes. What does this mean that they were weak? I don't know if I can have the exact right answer, but I'll tell you the things I read about and what it said. The weak eyes means it's the literal word for it means soft. Well, I think soft eyes are nice eyes, right? That's what it means. Soft is the literal word for it. And the description that most commentators think means no fire or sparkle or glow, which was much prized in the ancient East. She was not, to use James Taylor's lyric, I don't know if you guys know James Taylor's, I bet some people have heard him before, a pretty senorita with fire in her eyes. So she wasn't a pretty senorita with fire in her eyes. She was soft, she was gentle, she was innocent type looking, okay? And back then, it was prized to have that one with the crazy eyes. The crazy eyes is what was the attractive thing in that day of the culture, was the one with the crazy eyes. And I tell you, some people may know what the crazy eyes look like. You see somebody in the crowd, you're like, whoa, don't look at them again, they're looking at you. They got the crazy eyes, okay? I don't know, but maybe that's how I understood that that's how Rachel's eyes were. They were like those crazy eyes. The other ones was like the soft eyes, like just comfortable, nice eyes. On the other hand, Rachel was a knockout in Jacob's estimation, though not necessarily beautiful by our standards and probably not an anorexic model. In some cultures, strong boned and plump define beauty. So she might have been a big, hefty girl, Rachel, and she was the one that was so beautiful, okay? She could have been. She could have been big and hefty, big boned and hefty. She could have been the kind of girl that give a guy football players right there. That's what she could have been when that girl has kids, all right? And that was okay because it was in that culture. If you think back, I know it's outside our culture I'm talking now, but if you think back in the 20s, I have seen pictures in the 20s, and you see pictures of ladies very plump and large. And that was like the fancy way to be because it meant you were wealthy. You got to eat some food. You were able to take care of, and have a luxurious lifestyle. We don't know what beauty was back then, is what we're trying to say. We don't know that she wasn't some kind of Barbie model that looked like she was too skinny and scrawny and unhealthy. She might have been very well fed, okay? And she might have been really strong looking. We don't know. But whatever we know, in Jacob's eyes, she was beautiful, is what she was. And surely that's the way our wives are in our eyes too. If you're a man, you're with a lady, and your lady tries to get you to say something that she ain't beautiful, you can know you love your lady. You'd be like, however your lady looks, she is beautiful to me. She is beautiful, okay? And this is the way it was with Jacob here too, I think, with Rachel. I don't know. This is what we read when we look at cultural stuff too. Now Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will serve you 7 years for your youngest daughter Rachel. This is where we got to be careful. You can get all pumped up and talk too big when you shouldn't talk so big. The average price for a bride was 3 to 4 years for a dowry that you'd work for your woman. You'd work for 3 to 4 years and get her. Now, he thought she was so incredible, he'll like, I'll work for you 7 years. I'll pay a double dowry for this girl because she's so fine. All right? He shouldn't have let all that pumped upness get himself carried away because he's going to see this is going to be horrible how it's going to turn out. And some people believe perhaps the reason he said 7 years instead of 3 to 4 is she was too young to marry. Maybe she was only a 10-year-old or something, Maybe, I don't know what too young to marry was back then, but there had to be an age that was too young. So maybe he had to wait till she was older till he married her. I mean, even with Mary and Joseph, some people suppose she was 12 or 13 when she had baby Jesus right there. And Joseph was like a man in his 30s or something. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know where all these things go, but could be, perhaps. I don't know. But I think what happened was he was just so astounded, and he was walking on air still, thinking everything was so hunky-dory that he was talking a little bit more than what he was really realizing he was about to commit to. And Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than to give her to another man. So stay with her." And then I have one cool-looking slide I found. All right, it's different. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Isn't this nice? Think about this, men. With your ladies, just a few days it may seem like all it was, no matter how hard you worked for your lady or did things for your lady, because you love her so much. This is true, genuine love, and this is special. The days pass by quickly. When things are real bad, going bad, it seems like the clock's just ticking, the slowest ticking you could ever see. When things are going really good, sometimes time really flies. It's those time that flies that goes so quick, and then you get in the stuck part, and you're like, oh, and now you stopped, okay? But he had 7 years, just flew by, is what it said. It seemed like just a few days, and the reason was his drive was because he loved her so, so much. Now imagine she loved him so, so much too. Because here's a man that loves her so much that made a deal with her dad to work for 7 years, to take her hand. I mean, we're talking not just one person's perspective. Think about Rachel as well. And like I said, it's not temporary. In Genesis 48:7, he still speaks of Rachel as someone that he loves so very much, the love of his life. Now there's a topic on top. Laban deceives Jacob. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, and I might go into her." Now, if you look at the Hebrew language, this kind of shows grievance. It means like he shouldn't have had to say this. It should have been like, it's payday, your money's in the paycheck. This would be like you didn't get paid on payday, and you're like, "Hey, boss, I was supposed to be paid last week. How come I didn't get paid? Where's my money? I worked hard. Where's my money?" That's where this kind of language goes toward right here. And Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. Now it happened in the evening that he took his daughter Leah and brought her to him, and Jacob went in to her. Don't get into that descriptive stuff right there for any younger people here maybe, but the older people know exactly what this means right here, okay? All right? He's making babies. That's what he's doing, okay? Making babies. And here, we got to think about this. How is this that he got Leah now, and he loved Rachel so much, and his days flew by? To me, there's only one answer for this. And I thought maybe you guys think the same thing. Alcohol is the answer for this. Because how would you be with the wrong lady in the night? And if for 7 years all you did was dream of this lady. This was a lot of alcohol involved. And you look at the word right here. What does it say? A feast. All right? A feast. Yeah, there was a party and there was a lot of alcohol involved. And I tell you, everywhere in the Bible where you see big trouble, a lot of times you do find alcohol involved right there. My advice as a Southern Baptist minister, run from the alcohol. Run away from it. It's only going to cause troubles for you right there. Some people, I heard a saying once. This is a hit off topic, but not long, just quick, one moment. A topic, I read it once and I thought it was so true. It said out of 100% of Christians, 90%, well, it's not totally true, but I like the way it sounds, 90% don't drink any alcohol at all. 5% of Christians drink okay. They drink a drink or two, like they did in the Bible when it wasn't causing sin, and they're okay and no trouble happens. But the other 5% that claim to say it's okay to drink a drink or two are actually alcoholics and drinking way more, and they're lying and they're deceiving themselves and they're ruining everybody's life and their life too. And I really think that is really where it kind of goes in Christianity with alcohol. But either way, here is another picture with alcohol right here. A feast is made. The woman who he loves so much, he now sleeps with the wrong girl. Could you imagine how bad this would be too? I mean, usually the right girl would be like, "Forget you! I never want to be with you again. What have you done? You've been with my sister." So she must have known. Who knows? Maybe they tied her up. Maybe they locked her up and said, "You ain't going to your wedding." And she was like, "What? Huh?" I mean, just imagine, because they knew what was supposed to happen. Where was Rachel in this time? She might have been tied up in the back tent somewhere, okay? And gagged or something, and not able to speak, and not able to talk. I mean, we don't know. Because think about this, and then think about Leah. Leah was probably jealous of her sister, having this man loving her so much, working for 7 years, no other man coming along. It probably didn't take too much to coax Leah. Or maybe it did. She had soft eyes. Maybe she had a tender heart. And her dad said, I don't care what you have. I don't care how you feel. You're going to pretend you're Rachel and you're going with this man tonight. But either way, this makes for a very hard life for everybody involved right here. Okay? So this is what we see. And I'm going to move on. Laban also gave his servant woman Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a servant woman. And who's Zilpah going to end up becoming? Another lady that he's going to have kids with Jacob. Okay, he ends up being with 4 different women. And she gives it as a servant woman. And truly, if you think about Laban, is actually a very customs-oriented type of guy in many ways. If you look at culture, this was the culture, to get a dowry, to give a gift to your daughter after she was taken. He gave gifts. He gave ladies. They would be their servants. You know, like the slave, but like the servant that would be with them forever to help them. That was okay in the culture back then. Now it happened in the morning that, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this you've done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served with you? Why then have you deceived me? Okay? And think about the words deceive. Think about the irony here. Think about how he deceived his brother Esau. Maybe that hit him after he said this. Like, oh my gosh, this is the same thing I did to my brother when I stole the blessing. This man just deceived me in the same way. This word deceive is the same word used over in 27:35 when he steals the blessing right there. So like if you look at Hebrew language and we were reading it in English, and there was like different words for different things, all of a sudden this word would stick out to us. It would be like an immediate connection that he was like the same way deceived as he deceived his brother. It came back on himself. But Laban said, it is not the practice in our place to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill the week of this one, and we will give you the other also for the service which you shall serve with me for another 7 years. So like I said, he shouldn't have been so pumped up for 7-year dowry for double, because he's going to pay it times 4 for one girl. He's going to work for 14 years for this one girl for her love, because he got ripped off because he got to drinking. Maybe if he hadn't been drinking, they wouldn't have fooled him right there, okay? He had to be obviously one drinking. You can't have everybody else drinking and somehow you're the one that's fooled. You got to be the one that's so drunk and everything that you don't know what's going on. And here it is, 14 years for one girl right here. And consider this. These are some blessings that happen out of it, though. 12 sons and 1 daughter would be born to the 4 women. Through unloved Leah and her maid Zilpah, 8 of the 12 tribes would come. Leah would be the mother of Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Despite Leah was the hereditary mother of the kingly tribe of Judah and the priestly tribe of Levi. So both Moses was the first priest ever, okay? And the tribe of Judah is where Jesus came from. And they all came through Leah. They didn't come through Rachel. We see how God works this. This makes her ultimate offspring Moses and David and the Lord Jesus Christ. Indeed, God's work goes on and even thrives amidst human failure. Thank you, Jesus, that God's work thrives even amongst our failure. Because if it didn't, we'd be in bad trouble. Because not one of us can say, hey, I got it all squared away. I'm 100%. I wouldn't make any mistakes. Oh, no. Every one of us, we make mistakes, we mess up, and thank God that His work goes on. This, to me, goes against all that free will stuff. To me, thank God that I don't have the free will that my prideful self would want to think I have, because then God's work wouldn't happen the way that it's supposed to happen. Despite my sin, God's work happens, is what we see right here. And how beautiful it is. And we can only thank God that He loves us. Like that verse in Timothy, even when we are unfaithful, He remains faithful and He sees these things through. And think about this too, this 1 week. She gets a 1-week honeymoon, and then her sister gets married. What would it be like on her 1-week honeymoon when the deal got arranged that, okay, at the end of this week, you have to have a honeymoon with this one, and then you can get the one you want and have a honeymoon with her. Just imagine this, ladies. You get married to the love of your life, okay? Maybe Leah secretly loved him too the whole time, was jealous for her sister, and then all of a sudden, your relationship is cut short with the news that in 1 week, he's marrying another girl and having another honeymoon with her. And not just another girl, but my sister. And I tell you, if you look at Leviticus 18:18, it gives a reason why sister wives aren't allowed to be married. Because of rivalry. Because it would cause troubles. It would cause rivalry. And it surely does cause troubles. When we read about this, there's a lot of troubles that are caused here. And Jacob did so and fulfilled her week. And he gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. This is what we see. So we see the sister wives, and we think about that poor Leah on her honeymoon and how it must have been. It was probably a pretty sad honeymoon. He was probably talking, I'm so excited, I can't wait, I'm going to marry your sister in just a few days. And she's like, what? You just married me, this is my honeymoon, this is my time. And it isn't there. I mean, I wonder, how did the ceremony go? Maybe Rachel did get to go through all the wedding stuff and everything, and all of a sudden, as the reception went on and the drunkenness got on, that's when she was nabbed. And then Leah was escorted in there. I mean, I don't know, what was a ceremony like back in those days? It had to involve the girl, right? Unless there was such a veil that you couldn't even see who she was. But when you, after 7 years of being around, seeing what you know what her hands look like, when you know some different things about her. But here we see this, and it's just so intense. Laban also gave his servant woman Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her servant woman. And what we will see as a sad thing is Reuben, the son of Leah, will also be with this servant woman Bilhah, who was his stepmother right there. And that's why Reuben loses his firstborn rights in the end of it all. So there's all kinds of family sin and trouble and brokenness, even in this backwoods family right here. So Jacob went into Rachel also. All right, we know what that means. And indeed, he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he served with Laban for another 7 years. 14 years to get the one wife that he wanted. That's a long way. And he was deceived, and I bet you by now, those hands were tougher than any of our hands in there right now. I mean, this dude was strong. I don't know what he was doing, but I bet it was some hard work is what he was doing on the farm. He was probably the first-rate handman right there. Now, this looks really boring, but it really is my last slide, okay? And I just want to summarize this for you. Was Jacob the father of the 12 tribes of Israel? Was God the God of Jacob? What's the answer to that? Yes, he was, even despite all these things. The divine ladder was there, and the Lord was keeping him. The heavenly commerce was free and flowing, but it's also that although Jacob was the elect's son, he did not escape the consequence of his own sins. Far from being immune to discipline, God's children are the object of special discipline. We really are. We get special discipline. And we may get all upset. But you know what? I'd rather be getting special discipline and have the place in the heavenly kingdom than not have that special discipline and have the place in the outer darkness right there. And this is really true. Okay, there's nothing like TV. TV stuff lies. I don't even watch anybody on TV. None of them, okay? Some lady the other day told me, and this was a lady that I've been trying to get a good gospel conversation on, a nurse who's going through some troubled times, and she's even in a cult. And I told her, she said she watches Stephen Furtick. And usually I try not to say anything, but I said, he's awful. He's bad. Don't watch Stephen Furtick. I thought, this guy's terrible. And it broke her heart, because he was her favorite guy. But I said, he's like Joel Osteen. That's how I started it. She goes, oh, he's not a prosperity preacher. And I said, oh, he is. He is a prosperity preacher. Don't watch Stephen Furtick. This is terrible. But this is what was going on, was Stephen Furtick teaches prosperity. All these TV guys teach prosperity. The Bible doesn't teach prosperity for the Christian in worldly type of terms. It teaches suffering. It teaches a heaviness. It teaches stuff. Here's something I want to do, and I bet you Phil back there, he'll take me up on this offer, and maybe some of the other men will too. I bought a book recently called The Puritan Book from Joe Beakey, and it looks like a fairy tale picture on the front, but it's like an 800-page book, and it's got every chapter, there's many chapters, is the story of a Puritan. These men suffered like nobody you ever imagined suffered, and they loved Jesus, and they followed him. Think about the Puritans that came over the Mayflower. Half of them died after the first winter in America, and they praised God for how good he was to them, even though half their families were dead and were gone. I mean, these were men of faith like men this world has not known, the Puritans. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read that book that's 800-some pages, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a guy like Phil and maybe some of the other guys here, and we're going to get the books too, and we're all going to read it together. And then every week we'll talk about that Puritan a little bit on the side and what kind of great things that guy did and what we admire or what kind of stuff went through. I think that's an awesome thing for some men in the church to do. So if any guys want to do that, talk to me about it. If you can't afford the book, it's like $50. We're going to make it happen somehow, okay? But this is a good thing right here. It's this Puritan book. But Puritans knew that God has a special discipline for the Christian. It's worse than what the worldly person may think, but that's okay, because that's what the Bible's about. It's not about this fake blend of Christianity that they try to sell on the TV and sell in some churches and bring everybody in. It's a hard life to be a Christian, but it's God's way, and it's a beautiful way. So we see that he learns this from God. And the angel-freighted ladder disciplines and exalts. God had brought the arch-deceiver Laban into the life of the great patriarch deceiver, so Jacob's sin might be displayed before his eyes, and he might be cut to the heart. Jacob's nemesis and greatest antagonist was an instrument of God. The ladder assured that it was so, and Jacob was going to change, not overnight, but over time. He would become Israel, a prince of God, because he does. This is where the nation of Israel comes from. Today, for all believers, the ladder is presided over and administered by the ascended Son of Man. As Jesus explained to Nathanael, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man." So it's just like the ladder, except right upon Jesus, and Jesus is Yahweh at the bottom. And the same Lord does the same thing for all his children. There is continual commerce between heaven and earth for you and me, and like Jacob, we happily see it when everything is going well. But when life goes south, when our sins catch up with us, and we're paying the piper, when hard times and hard people come into our lives, then the ladder seems remote. But the commerce is still there. God's still doing what he planned to do in our life, even when it's super hard for us. But if anything, it's even more intense of what God's doing in our life during the hardest times. It's usually the times we grow the greatest. Perhaps, as it was for Jacob, there are difficult people in our lives. Laban-type, nemesis, harsh people, judgmental people, deceitful people, untruthful people, arrogant people, and we cry for relief. But it just may be, as Alan Ross has suggested, not a theologian, that through them we take a long look at ourselves. It may be that some of those traits characterize us and that other people may be a part of God's means of disciplining us. One thing is for sure, the commerce on behalf of our souls will never cease until we are with the Son of Man. And for this grace, we must bless his name, say, "Thank you, Jesus," that through the hard times and through the good times, you are working out your perfect plan for my life.